Arif had always thought of himself as an ordinary husband. He worked a regular job, came home on time, and loved his wife, Sana, deeply. Their marriage was comfortable, playful, and full of inside jokes. But there was one joke that slowly turned into something neither of them expected. It started one rainy evening when the power went out. Sana was bored, scrolling through her phone, while Arif searched for candles. "Let's play a game," she said suddenly, smiling mischievously. "What game?" Arif asked, lighting a candle. Sana looked at him carefully, then said, "I'll dress you up like a girl." Arif laughed immediately. "Very funny." "Not happening." "Come on," she insisted. "Just for fun. No photos, no one will see. Just me." He refused at first, but Sana kept teasing him for days. She would hold up her dresses and say, "This would look good on you." Or she would put her scarf on his head and laugh. One night, after a small argument that turned into laughter, Arif finally said, "Fine. One time. Just for fun." Sana's eyes lit up like she had just won the lottery. She immediately went to the bedroom and came back with a soft blue dress. "Wear this," she said. "I'm already regretting this," Arif muttered. He went into the bedroom and slowly changed. The dress felt strange, light, and soft. He looked at himself in the mirror and almost didn't recognize the person staring back. When he walked out, Sana covered her mouth in shock. "Oh my God," she said. "You actually look cute." "Don't say that," Arif said, embarrassed. But Sana wasn't finished. She pulled him to the chair and started doing his makeup. Foundation, eyeliner, lipstick. Then she brushed his hair and tied it in a small ponytail. "Stand up," she said. Arif stood up slowly. Sana stared at him for a long moment and then said quietly, "You don't look like my husband anymore, you look like my friend." They both laughed, but something had changed in the room. The joke suddenly didn't feel like just a joke anymore. "What would your name be?" Sana asked. "What? I need a name too?" Arif said. "Of course. Every girl needs a name." Arif thought for a moment and said jokingly, "Ayesha." Sana smiled. "Okay, then. Meet my new best friend, Ayesha." From that night, it became their secret game. Sometimes on weekends, Sana would dress him up again. Each time she improved the makeup, the clothes, the walk, the voice. She taught him how to sit properly, how to hold a handbag, how to walk in small steps. At first Arif felt silly, but slowly he started enjoying the attention, the transformation, the strange excitement of becoming someone else. One evening, after a full makeover, Sana looked at him seriously and said, "You know, if you went outside like this, no one would recognize you." Arif laughed nervously. "I am not going outside like this." But Sana didn't laugh. She just smiled slowly. A few days later, Sana said, "My best friend Hina is coming over tomorrow." "Okay," Arif said. Sana looked at him with that same mischievous smile. "I have an idea," she said. "You're going to meet her, as Ayesha." Arif froze. "No. Absolutely not." "Please," Sana said. "She doesn't know you. I told her my friend from another city is visiting. Just one evening. It will be fun." Arif's heart started beating fast. This was no longer just a private game. This was real. After a long argument, Sana finally convinced him. The next evening, Arif was fully dressed as Ayesha again, makeup, dress, earrings, even sandals. The doorbell rang. Arif's hands started shaking. Sana squeezed his hand and whispered, "Relax, Ayesha. My best friend is about to meet you for the first time." Sana opened the door. Hina walked in, smiling, then looked at Arif, at Ayesha, and said, "Oh wow, you didn't tell me your friend was this pretty." Arif felt his heart stop. Because for the first time, someone believed he was not a husband, but his wife's best friend. And then Hina said something that changed everything. Are you single, Ayesha? Hina's question stayed in the air like a heavy cloud. Are you single, Ayesha? For a moment, Arif forgot how to breathe. His mind was screaming, say something, but his mouth refused to move. He looked at Sana, who was standing behind Hina, holding a tray of tea, trying very hard not to burst into laughter. Arif remembered Sana's instructions, speak softly. Short sentences. Smile more. Don't talk too much. He gently tucked a strand of hair behind his ear, something Sana had taught him, and nodded slightly. Yes. I'm single, he said in a soft voice. Hina smiled widely. Good. Because you're very pretty. If you had a boyfriend, I'd be jealous. Arif felt his cheeks burning under the makeup. No one had ever called him pretty before. Handsome maybe, once or twice, but pretty. Never. And the strange thing was, he didn't hate hearing it. Sana placed the teacups on the table and sat down beside Hina, watching Arif carefully, as if she was observing an experiment. So, Ayesha, Hina said, crossing her legs comfortably, Sana told me you're from another city? Arif nodded again. Yes. I just came here recently. You're going to get bored here if you only sit at home, Hina said. You need friends. Good thing you met me. Sana smirked. Yes, very lucky for her. They all started talking. At first, Arif mostly listened. Hina talked a lot, about her office, her annoying boss, her shopping habits, her college memories with Sana. Every time she laughed, she would lightly touch Arif's arm or shoulder without thinking. Every time she touched him, Arif felt a strange shock run through his body. Not because he liked her in that way, but because she believed he was someone else completely. She wasn't touching Arif the husband. She was touching Ayesha, Sana's friend. After about half an hour, Hina looked at him carefully and said, You're very quiet, Ayesha. Arif smiled softly. I'm a little shy. That's cute, Hina replied immediately. Sana almost choked on her tea trying not to laugh. The evening continued, and slowly Arif started talking more. He learned to nod, to smile, to react the way Sana had taught him. He kept his legs crossed, his hands together on his lap, and tried to remember to move slowly and gently. At one point, Hina said, I love your earrings. Sana, did you give these to her? Sana smiled. Yes. Everything she's wearing is mine. Hina laughed. Then I'm going to steal both your clothes and your friend. Sana looked at Arif and said, You can keep her for a few days if you want. They all laughed, but Arif felt something strange inside. Sana wasn't joking the way she usually joked. She was watching him carefully all evening, like she was slowly pushing him into this new role. After some time, Sana suddenly stood up and said, Hina, why don't you take Ayesha to my room and show her the dresses I bought yesterday? Hina immediately stood up. Yes. Come on, Ayesha. Before Arif could react, Hina grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the bedroom. Arif's heart started beating faster again. Being alone with Hina felt much more dangerous than sitting in the living room. They entered the bedroom and Hina closed the door behind them. She walked straight to the cupboard and opened it. Wow, Sana bought so many dresses, she said, pulling a few out. Then she turned and looked at Arif from head to toe. You and Sana are almost the same size. You can wear all of these. Arif smiled nervously. Maybe. Hina picked up a red dress and held it in front of him. This would look amazing on you. Arif laughed softly. I don't think so. No, really, she insisted. Then she suddenly smiled mischievously. Try it. Arif froze. Right now? Yes, right now, Hina said, pushing the dress into his hands. Bathroom is there. Go change. Arif stood there for a moment, holding the dress, his heart pounding loudly. He couldn't believe what was happening. He looked at the mirror and saw Ayesha staring back at him, not Arif. Slowly, he went into the bathroom and changed into the red dress. It was softer and tighter than the blue one he was wearing before. When he looked in the mirror again, he barely recognized himself. He took a deep breath and walked out. Hina turned around and looked at him, and her eyes went wide. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. She just stared. Then she walked slowly toward him and said quietly, "Ayesha, you are seriously beautiful." Arif didn't know why, but those words hit him deeply. He felt shy, embarrassed, but also strangely proud. Hina adjusted his hair gently and said, "If we go out together, people will think we are sisters." Arif laughed nervously. "I don't go out much." "Well, now you will," Hina said confidently. "We're going shopping next week." Arif's smile disappeared immediately. "Shopping?" "Yes. Girls' Day. Me and you," Hina said happily. "We'll go to the mall, eat, shop, take selfies." Arif's heart started racing again. Mall? Public? People everywhere? Before he could answer, the bedroom door suddenly opened and Sana walked in. She looked at Arif in the red dress, then at Hina, and smiled slowly. "I see you two are already best friends," she said. Hina laughed. "Of course. I like her more than you already." Sana walked closer and looked directly into Arif's eyes. There was something mysterious in her expression. "Good," Sana said softly. "Because next week, Hina invited you, not me." Arif turned to Sana in shock. "What?" Hina nodded excitedly. "Yes. Girls' Day out. Only me and Ayesha." Arif looked at Sana, hoping she would stop this, but Sana just crossed her arms and smiled. "You wanted to play the game," she said quietly. "Now the game is getting bigger." Arif swallowed nervously. "What if someone recognizes me?" Sana stepped closer and whispered, "No one will recognize you. Ayesha." Hina grabbed his hand again. "It's decided. Next Saturday. Mall. Don't cancel." Arif stood there, in a red dress, holding Hina's hand, while his wife smiled at him like she had planned everything from the beginning. And at that moment, Arif realized something terrifying. This was no longer just a private joke between husband and wife. Now there was a third person involved. Now Ayesha had a life of her own. And next week, Ayesha was going outside into the real world for the first time. The entire week, Arif couldn't focus on anything. At work, he would open his laptop and suddenly remember Hina saying, "Next Saturday. Mall. Only me and you." His hands would start sweating. He kept imagining someone recognizing him, a colleague, a neighbor, a relative. What would he do? What would he say? Every night, Sana continued the practice. "You walk too fast," she told him one evening as he walked across the room in a dress. "I can't help it," Arif said. "I've walked like this my whole life." "Not anymore," Sana replied. "Now walk again. Smaller steps." He tried again. "Slow down." He slowed. "Move your arms less." He adjusted. "Sit down." He sat. "Not like that. Keep your knees together." Arif sighed. "This is harder than my job." Sana laughed. "Being a woman is not easy." Over the next few days, she taught him everything. How to hold a handbag, how to fix his hair, how to check lipstick, how to look at clothes in a shop, how to smile without showing too many teeth, how to answer personal questions. If someone asks what you do, say you work online, Sana instructed. If someone asks where you live, say you're staying with me for a few weeks. If someone asks about family, say they live in another city. Arif realized Sana had thought about everything. Friday night came. The night before the mall trip. Sana placed 3 outfits on the bed. "Ayesha needs to choose her outfit for tomorrow," she said. Arif looked at the outfits. A black dress, a pink kurti with white trousers, a blue jeans and long top. "Not the black dress," Arif said immediately. "Too noticeable." "Good," Sana said. "You're thinking like a girl now." They finally chose the pink curdy outfit, simple, decent, not too flashy. The next morning, Arif woke up nervous. Very nervous. Sanaa spent almost an hour doing his makeup carefully. Light foundation, soft eyeliner, light lipstick. No heavy makeup, she said. Daytime look. She straightened his hair, gave him a small handbag, and stepped back to look at him. Arif looked in the mirror. A young woman looked back at him. Not perfect, not like a model, but completely believable. You're not Arif right now, Sanaa said quietly. You are Ayesha. Remember that. Then the phone rang. It was Hina. I'm outside, she said excitedly. Arif's heart started beating so fast he thought he might faint. Sanaa held his hand and whispered, relax. Just be Ayesha. They walked outside together. Hina was standing near her car. She waved excitedly when she saw them. Ayesha, she said and walked quickly toward him. You look so pretty. Arif smiled shyly. Thank you. Sanaa opened the car door. Take care of my best friend, she said jokingly to Hina. Hina laughed. Don't worry. She's safe with me. Arif looked at Sanaa one last time. Sanaa gave him a small smile, a very mysterious smile, and then closed the car door. As the car started moving, Arif realized something important. For the first time, he was outside. Not as a husband. Not as Arif. But as Ayesha. During the drive, Hina kept talking. We'll go to the mall, then maybe eat, then maybe look at shoes. I need shoes. And you need everything. Everything? Arif asked nervously. Yes, Hina said. Clothes, makeup, accessories. You can't wear Sanaa's clothes forever. Arif looked out the window, trying to calm his heartbeat. After 20 minutes, the car entered the mall parking area. Hina parked the car and turned to him. Ready? Arif took a deep breath. Ready. They got out of the car and started walking toward the mall entrance. People were everywhere. Families, couples, groups of friends. Arif felt like everyone was looking at him. He tried to walk slowly, just like Sanaa taught him. Inside the mall, bright lights, shops, music, people everywhere. Hina grabbed his arm and pulled him toward a clothing store. First, dresses. Inside the shop, a salesgirl came toward them. Welcome, ma'am. Looking for something? Before Arif could panic, Hina said, yes, my friend needs some dresses. The salesgirl smiled at Arif. Sure, ma'am. What size? Arif froze for half a second, then remembered Sanaa's training. Medium, he said softly. The salesgirl nodded and started showing dresses. Arif was standing in a clothing store, looking at women's dresses, talking to a salesgirl, with people all around, and no one suspected anything. No one. He went to the trial room and tried a dress. When he came out, Hina clapped her hands. Perfect. You're buying this. After that, they went to another shop. Then another. Shoes, earrings, makeup. Hours passed. Slowly, Arif stopped feeling scared. Slowly, he started feeling normal. They finally sat in the food court with drinks. Hina looked at him carefully and said. You know something, Ayesha? What? Arif asked. You don't act like a beginner. You act like you've been a girl for a long time. Arif almost dropped his drink. Before he could answer, Hina leaned closer and said quietly. Sometimes I feel like you're hiding something. Arif's heart stopped. Don't worry, Hina continued, smiling. Whatever it is. I think I like you even more because of it. Arif didn't know what scared him more. The fact that she might be suspicious. Or the fact that he was starting to enjoy being Ayesha more than being Arif. After Hina said, I think I like you even more because of it, Arif didn't know how to respond. He just smiled nervously and looked down at his drink. Relax, Hina said, laughing. You look like I just proposed to you. Arif laughed softly. No. I'm just not used to going out this much. Well, that's going to change, Hina replied. Because now you're my shopping partner. After finishing their drinks, they walked around the mall again. This time, Arif felt less scared. He even started looking at clothes himself, touching fabrics, checking mirrors. Something strange was happening, he was getting comfortable. Very comfortable. At one point, Hina said, "Wait here, I'm going to the washroom." Arif nodded and stood near a shop, holding his handbag. This was the first time he was standing alone in public as Ayesha. People walked past him without even looking twice. A group of girls walked by, laughing loudly. A family passed. A couple argued near the escalator. No one cared. No one recognized him. No one knew he was actually Arif. For the first time, he felt something unexpected. Freedom. He could stand differently, walk differently, behave differently. No one expected him to be a husband, a worker, a responsible man. Here, he was just Ayesha, a normal girl in a mall. When Hina came back, she noticed something. You look different, she said. Different how? Arif asked nervously. More confident, she replied. Arif smiled. Maybe I'm getting used to it. Good, Hina said. Because next time we're going to a restaurant at night. Arif almost choked. Night? Yes, Hina said. Girls' dinner. Arif didn't answer. His life was getting more complicated every day. When they returned home in the evening, Sana opened the door immediately like she had been waiting all day. Well? Sana asked excitedly. How was the mall? Hina answered before Arif could speak. Your friend is amazing. We bought so many things. And she walks better than you. Sana laughed and looked at Arif carefully. I can see that. Hina handed the shopping bags to Sana. These are her clothes. She can't keep wearing yours. Sana raised an eyebrow. Oh, now she has her own wardrobe? Of course, Hina said. She's my best friend now. Arif felt something strange when he heard that sentence again, my best friend. Hina stayed for tea again. This time, Arif was less nervous. He talked more, laughed more, even told a few fake stories about his life as Ayesha. At one point, Hina said, You know, Sana, sometimes I feel like I've known Ayesha for years. Sana looked at Arif and said slowly. Yes, sometimes I feel like that too. There was something hidden in Sana's voice. Something Arif couldn't understand. After Hina left, Sana closed the door and turned toward Arif. So, she said, crossing her arms, did you enjoy your day? Arif sat down slowly. I was scared at first, but later, it felt normal. Sana smiled. I knew it would. Arif looked at the shopping bags. Dresses, tops, sandals, makeup, all for Ayesha. This is getting out of control, Arif said quietly. Sana sat next to him. Is it? Yes, Arif said. Hina thinks I'm her best friend. We're going out again. I have clothes now. Makeup. Shoes. This is not just a joke anymore. Sana looked directly into his eyes and said something that changed everything. Maybe I don't want it to be a joke anymore. Arif stared at her. What do you mean? Sana spoke slowly, carefully. I always wanted a best friend. Someone to shop with, talk to, share secrets with. But now. I have one. Arif's heart started beating faster. Sana. I'm your husband, he said quietly. Sana smiled gently. Yes, she said. But you're also Ayesha. The room became very quiet. Then Sana stood up, picked up one of the shopping bags, and handed it to him. Tomorrow, she said. Hina is coming again, and this time, she wants the three of us to go out for dinner at night. Arif's eyes widened. Night? Outside? Together? Sana nodded. And she said something else, Sana added. What? Arif asked slowly. Sana looked at him with a very serious expression and said. She said she wants to introduce Ayesha to her other friends. Arif felt the ground disappear under his feet. This secret was no longer small. Now more people were going to meet Ayesha. More people were going to know her. More people were going to talk to her. And the more Ayesha existed, the more Arif felt like he was slowly disappearing. Arif could not sleep that night. He lay in bed next to Sana, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what she had said. Maybe I don't want it to be a joke anymore. Those words kept repeating in his mind. He turned toward Sana. Are you serious about this? He asked quietly. Sana didn't open her eyes. About what? About Ayesha, he said. Now she opened her eyes and looked at him. Do you hate it? Arif didn't answer immediately. That was the problem, he didn't hate it. In fact, he was starting to enjoy parts of it. The attention, the transformation, the secret life, the freedom of being someone else. I don't know, he finally said. Sana turned toward him and spoke softly. When you become Ayesha, you're different. Softer. Calmer. You talk more. You smile more. You listen more. I like that version of you too. Arif didn't know what to say to that. Sleep, Sana said. Tomorrow night, we go to dinner. The next evening, Sana spent more time than usual getting him ready. Better makeup, better hairstyle, a new dress they bought from the mall, matching earrings, a small necklace. When Arif looked in the mirror, he was shocked again. Ayesha didn't look like a joke anymore. Ayesha looked like a real person. Sana stood behind him and placed her hands on his shoulders. If I didn't know the truth, she said quietly, I would say you're my beautiful best friend. Arif looked at her reflection in the mirror. And what am I now? He asked. Sana smiled slightly. You're both. Hina arrived to pick them up. When she saw Ayesha, she almost shouted, Wow. You look amazing. Sana laughed. Don't praise her too much, she'll become proud. Hina smiled. Too late. She already walks like a model. They went to a restaurant in the evening. It was more crowded than the mall, more people, more noise, more danger of being recognized. They sat at a table and ordered food. After some time, 3 other girls arrived, Hina's friends. Hina, one of them said, hugging her. Then she looked at Sana and Ayesha. You didn't tell us you were bringing new friends. Hina smiled proudly and pointed at Arif. This is Ayesha, my new best friend. Arif smiled politely and said softly, Nice to meet you. They all sat down and started talking. The conversation moved quickly, work, clothes, relationships, movies, travel. Arif mostly listened, but sometimes they asked him questions directly. So, Ayesha, what do you do? One girl asked. I work online, he replied calmly, remembering Sana's training. Are you married? Another girl asked. Arif paused for half a second. No, he said. Boyfriend? Another asked. Arif shook his head. No. Hina suddenly said, laughing. Good. Because if she had a boyfriend, I would be jealous. I want her all to myself. Everyone laughed. But Sana did not laugh. Sana was watching Arif very carefully the whole evening. At one point, one of the girls said, Ayesha, you're very quiet but very elegant. Another said, yes, and she has very nice manners. Another said, and her skin is so good, what foundation do you use? Arif answered carefully, slowly, softly, just like Sana taught him. And then something happened that changed everything again. One of Hina's friends said, You know what? Next month we're planning a girls' trip for 2 days. You should come with us, Ayesha. Arif's heart stopped. Trip, he repeated. Yes, she said. Just girls. Hotel, shopping, fun, photos. Hina immediately said, yes. She should come. All the girls agreed. Then they all looked at Ayesha. Arif slowly turned his head towards Sana. Sana was looking directly at him. And then, Sana smiled. Not a joking smile. Not a surprised smile. A calm, slow, agreeing smile. And she said one sentence. I think Ayesha would love to come. Arif felt like the world stopped. A trip. 2 days. Hotel. Only girls. No Sana. No Arif. Only Ayesha. At that moment, Arif realized something terrifying. This was no longer a game. This was no longer pretending. Ayesha now had friends, clothes, a life, and now, a trip. And he didn't know how to stop it anymore. That night, after the dinner, everything felt quiet. Too quiet. Hina dropped them home with her usual cheerful energy, still talking about the trip, outfits, plans, photos, and girls' fun. But Arif barely heard any of it. His mind was somewhere else. Or maybe, he wasn't Arif in that moment. Maybe he was still Ayesha. When they entered the house, Sana closed the door gently and turned the lock. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Sana said softly. You didn't say anything. Arif slowly put his handbag on the table. What was I supposed to say? You could have refused, Sana replied. Arif turned toward her. Would that have made a difference? Sana didn't answer immediately. That's what I thought, he said quietly. He walked to the mirror and looked at himself. The makeup was still perfect. The hair still in place. The dress still elegant. Ayesha was still there. You agreed for me, he continued. Without asking me. Sana walked closer. I knew you wouldn't say no. Arif looked at her reflection in the mirror. You're very sure about that. Sana stood right behind him, their reflections side by side. Yes, she said. Because I can see it. See what? He asked. That you don't want this to end. That sentence hit deeper than anything before. Arif turned around quickly. That's not true. Then say it clearly, Sana replied. Say you don't want to be Ayesha anymore. Arif opened his mouth. And nothing came out. The silence answered for him. Sana smiled, not in a mocking way, but in a knowing way. Exactly, she whispered. That night was different. Arif didn't immediately remove the makeup. He sat on the bed, still dressed as Ayesha, thinking. Who was he right now? If someone walked into the room, what would they see? A husband? Or a woman? Or something in between? Sana sat beside him quietly. After a long time, she said. The trip is in 3 weeks. Arif nodded slowly. You have time, she continued. To decide. Decide what? He asked. How far you want this to go? The next few days were strange. Something had shifted. Sana didn't force anything anymore. She didn't ask him to dress up. She didn't mention Ayesha much. But somehow, Ayesha didn't disappear. Instead, Arif found himself thinking about her. About the way people talked to her. About the way Hina smiled at her. About the way the world felt different when he was her. One evening, Arif came home from work, tired, stressed, irritated. He sat down and loosened his shirt collar. Sana walked in, looked at him for a moment, then quietly placed a shopping bag next to him. She didn't say anything. She just walked away. Arif stared at the bag. Slowly, he opened it. Inside was a simple outfit. Soft. Comfortable. Familiar. Ayesha's clothes. He stared at it for a long time. Then he stood up and walked to the bedroom. When Sana came back, she stopped at the door. Arif was standing in front of the mirror. No one had asked him. No one had forced him. But he had changed. He wasn't fully dressed up, no heavy makeup, no perfect hair, just simple clothes, a light touch, but it was enough. Ayesha was there again. Sana leaned against the doorframe and smiled softly. You chose, she said. Arif looked at himself in the mirror. Maybe, he replied. The days passed. And the balance slowly shifted. At first, Ayesha existed only at home. Then sometimes in the evening. Then longer. Then more naturally. Sana stopped treating it like a game. She treated Ayesha like a real person. She would say things like, Ayesha, help me choose this dress. Ayesha, come sit with me. Ayesha, what do you think? And every time, Arif responded. The day of the trip arrived. The bag was packed. Clothes. Makeup. Accessories. Everything Ayesha needed. Hina was outside, waiting. Sana stood in front of him, in front of Ayesha, and adjusted his dupatta one last time. Are you ready? She asked. Arif took a deep breath. This was it. A full step into that other life. No turning back after this, he said quietly. Sana looked into his eyes. Maybe there doesn't need to be. He picked up the bag. Walked to the door. Opened it. Hina smiled brightly. Ayesha. Finally. Arif stepped outside. The door closed behind him. 2 days later. The door opened again. Sana stood in the living room, waiting. Her heart was beating faster than she expected. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Someone walked in. Sana looked up. And for a moment, she didn't know what she was looking at. Because the person standing there was confident, relaxed, smiling, carrying herself differently. Not nervous. Not unsure. Not pretending. Sana whispered softly. Arif. The person tilted their head slightly. And smiled. Hi, she said. Not, I'm back. Not, it's me. Just. Hi. Sana's breath caught. Because in that moment, she realized something profound. Arif hadn't just been pretending to be Ayesha. Somewhere along the way, Ayesha had become real. And now the question wasn't, will Ayesha disappear? The real question was, is there still a place for Arif?